All right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about what the best foods are to boost testosterone naturally. But first, a disclaimer, none of the statements I'll be making have been evaluated by any government institution. I am not a licensed medical professional, and this is just information. It's not medical advice. Okay, so with that out of the way, 1 out of 5 young men have a straight up deficiency in testosterone. That doesn't mean they're insufficient. It means that they don't have enough of this sex hormone to perform basic functions as a man. So this is a serious issue. It's also a population-wide problem. So it's not something you can just point at one person and say, well, it's because they're doing this or that. This is something that's affecting all men in the United States, and I would say Canada as well. And so there's something going on, and we need to figure out what it is. And there's a 25% drop in testosterone in the last 2 decades alone. That means each generation of men are getting less manly compared to the one that was before them. And this matters because low testosterone is linked to less muscle. Low testosterone is linked to the belly fat. So if you got a big belly, that's probably a low testosterone problem. And as a general idea, it's best to get your blood levels checked. But how deep someone's voice is, that's an honest signal of testosterone. So if you notice that as you work on these things, that your voice is getting a little deeper, you're not crazy. It could be that your testosterone is improving. So how do we boost testosterone naturally? These are the core principles. Low testosterone is linked to an H. pylori infection in the gut. So if you struggle with things like acid reflux, or you're always throat clearing, like you're going like that kind of thing, that's linked to an infection in your gut. If you have shortness of breath or just issues with digestion in general, you probably have some sort of issue there, and you're going to want to pay attention to what you're eating to improve your testosterone. Now, a varicocele is a risk factor for low sex hormones like testosterone, so we want to work on improving that sludgy blood. The blood isn't getting down to the testicle. It's not being carried away with all the waste. We need to improve our blood flow to the testicle to boost the levels of testosterone. And so anything that we can do to improve blood flow or blood generation, that's going to be helpful as well. Testosterone starts from cholesterol. Cholesterol is the building block of the sex hormones. And so you want to be careful of anything that plays with cholesterol. For example, in this systematic review, statins may partially operate by lowering testosterone. So you want to be wary of anything that's playing with cholesterol. Testosterone is linked to vitamin D, and it changes seasonally. What that means is that as your vitamin D levels increase, as the sun comes out in full force, your testosterone levels will increase. And then in the winter, as the sun goes away a little bit, your testosterone levels will drop. So we want to work on anything that's going to improve vitamin D levels. Vitamin D levels are linked to testosterone. So if you have a low vitamin D, you probably have a low testosterone level. Here's another study, a causal link between vitamin D and total testosterone in men. And a vitamin D deficiency was associated with increased odds of having the H. pylori infection in the gut by almost 3 times. So that's the one that's causing the acid reflux coming up, and the throat clearing and the persistent burping. All of that stuff is all linked to H. pylori. And so the best way to boost testosterone is by rebuilding the immune system, killing that gut infection. And we want to do that by spending more time outside to get those ultraviolet rays. We want to relieve the burden on the body. So try and cut down on toxins as much as possible, such as fluoridated water. And we want to eat foods that have high levels of vitamin D complexes in them. So what are the best foods with all of that kept in mind? The best foods are grass-fed, pasture-raised tallow. So the tallow is a melted down fat from the beef, and it's a source of saturated fats that's going to help you with the precursors of testosterone. And it's also an important source of vitamin A in its complete form, retinol, and vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K2, and vitamin B12. So in our family, we cook with it, and we also bake with it instead of pasteurized butter. And we love tallow. And you want to get it from animals that are raised outdoors. When the animals are outside, the UV, the ultraviolet rays are going to hit their fur, that's going to raise their vitamin D levels so that when you eat their fat, you're going to get the higher levels of vitamin D. And when they eat the fresh green grass, they're going to get higher levels of vitamin A. And then when you eat them, you're going to get higher levels of vitamin A. So you want to eat healthy animals to become healthy. So you want to buy pasture-raised red meat. It's another great way of boosting testosterone. You want to buy, if you can, and you trust your local farm, you want to buy half a cow at the end of summer. So the study found that the cattle would have higher levels of vitamin D compounds at the end of summer. So it says here 1.1 at the end of autumn compared to 0.3 in winter. So that's almost, I don't like to do math on video, but that's almost 4 times more vitamin D if you get the meat at the end of summer and store up your freezers and whatnot. So that's a great time to load up on your freezer at the end of summer. Another great food for boosting testosterone are sweetbreads. Now that term could mean a few different organs in the body, but usually it means the pancreas. And the pancreas is a very important organ. It helps to improve digestion. It's also where they isolated insulin from for diabetics. And so it really helps to improve digestion, and it's the best tasting offal, in my opinion. It doesn't taste like you're eating a penny, like with liver or anything like that. And my kids actually enjoy eating sweetbreads. It tastes great. It's a little bit of work. You got to boil it first, pull it apart, and then pan fry it in tallow. But it tastes great, and that's great for boosting testosterone. You also want to buy eggs from your neighbors. So chickens that go outside, we're producing 3 to 4 times the vitamin D levels just by allowing them to go outside in the sunshine. So if you're buying eggs, these chickens are kept indoors all year round, and their vitamin D levels are not very high in the eggs. So you want to get eggs from chickens that are healthy, that are outside, and that's going to raise your vitamin D levels. That's going to improve your digestion. That's going to improve your blood flow, getting down to the testicles and improving the whole testosterone cycle. Fish is also a great option for boosting testosterone. In this study here, higher total fish intake was associated with higher levels of serum testosterone. Now, a reason for that is that fish is super high in vitamin D. And in this study, looking at wild fish, the wild salmon had 4 times the vitamin D of farm salmon. So if you're not a big fan of fish, but you think you should eat it for health reasons, you could upgrade that fish to wild salmon. Or if you like fish and you just want to get results even faster, upgrade to wild salmon. You're going to get way more nutrients per ounce. Fish roe is another great option. It's super high in levels of vitamin A and vitamin D in a non-toxic form. It's not a supplement form. It's in a natural form that's going to help your body to work better. It doesn't taste too bad either, especially when you compare it to other kind of supplements like this. It's not a supplement, but if you were to compare it to something like cod liver oil or fish oil or something like that, this tastes way better, and it's not a pharmaceutically made thing. And so it is expensive when you think about it as a food, but it's cheap when you think about it as kind of a supplement. You can also drink coffee. Coffee is antibacterial. Now, the biggest problem with coffee is that it's often made with fluoridated tap water, and that fluoride, as I covered in a previous video, is linked to lower levels of testosterone. It causes a burden on the immune system. And so you want to make your coffee at home with clean water, either reverse osmosis or spring water. And this is just a temporary tactic. So you can obviously just increase your dose of coffee, but over time, caffeine will burn out vitamin D. So you have to make sure that you're offsetting that with enough time outside, and just realize that it's a temporary tactic. Another great food is royal jelly. Royal jelly has been shown to boost testosterone. Now, this is a specific part of the beehive that only the queen would eat. And this part of the beehive does spoil. So you have to find it in a fridge or a freezer, but that can be very potent as well. Here's another study, 6 months of royal jelly improved glucose tolerance and mental health, as well as testosterone. Another great option is raw honey. Raw honey is antibacterial, which might be why it's anti-diabetic and anti-heart disease. It could be improving gut health. So honey increases serum testosterone levels in males. Another great option is bee pollen. Bee pollen showed a significant increase in testosterone hormone levels. Bee pollen is something when they take honey, they filter it out and they take out the pollen. So it's obviously best to buy a raw honey that's as raw as possible, that's not filtered too much. But another great option is just to buy the bee pollen on its own. You can sprinkle that on all sorts of food, or you can just eat it off the spoon like I do. You also want to protect your testosterone by avoiding toxins. So one of those biggest toxins is fluoridated tap water. That's going to affect anything made with tap water like beer, soda pop, soup, all these different things. And so newer research is starting to show that fluoride might be as toxic as lead. So yes, it does bind to bone, so does lead. And so if you're worried about your cavities or something like that, you may want to use a less toxic remineralizer like hydroxyapatite. So you can look into that for a toothpaste. But you want to drink clean water as much as possible. So reverse osmosis will remove fluoride. Most of them will. Or you could just get a great clean drinking source like spring water that's local to your area. So just to wrap up this video, the main battle to raise your testosterone is to fight against chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is what's causing the sludgy blood. That's what's causing the lack of blood flow to the testicles. That's what's causing them to shrink and to lower the output of sex hormones. So you want to boost the immune system. You want to eat foods that agree with your gut health. You want to eat nutritious foods that are going to help you with blood generation and get the blood flow, bringing nutrients to your testicles and carrying away waste and keeping that organ in top tier health. And so anything that fights against inflammation is going to help you boost testosterone. And so you want to pay attention, keep a log, pay attention to what foods make you feel great, pay attention to what makes you feel awful, and then try and do less of whatever that is. Keep tweaking, keep fighting. And there's only so much I can cover in a YouTube video. So feel free to drop a comment or shoot me an email. I put the email up there on the screen. And I'd like to invite you to join the Outlive newsletter. I send a weekly newsletter about these kinds of topics. And so it can't get censored. So if you get on that newsletter list, I can keep sending you information about this kind of stuff. And so I hope you liked the video. I hope you decide to leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you have to think about this topic. And I hope I'll see you in the next one.